some of the students are texting me like they have some login issues, but no need to worry. What I'll do is this class I'll just start recording. Okay, so even if you are not able to log in this session, so you can listen to the same lecture again. Okay, it won't be a problem for you. And uh, some students who are not able to log in, I will add their names in the next class. Okay, no need to worry. Okay, fine. Okay, so in the previous class, we have started with sets. Okay, so the different operations that we can perform in the sets, and we have seen the properties, right? So now in this class, I'll start with the actual syllabus. Okay, so your first in your first module is divided into two topics: mathematical logic 1 and logic 2. And one more thing, actually, some students are asking me the notes. Okay, see, actually, for a subject like this, yeah, of course, textbook is very important. Okay, you need to solve all the exercise problems. And regarding the textbook, the prescribed one is Grimaldi. Okay, for BMS, the prescribed textbook is Grimaldi, but you can also refer Dr. DSC and Dr. KSC textbook. Edition is from third edition onwards for the DSC, and for KSC textbook it is just a moment. Okay, from third edition onwards, the syllabus is same. Okay, so you can refer KSC or DSC, anything is fine. Actually, if you solve textbook problems, it will be more helpful for you. Notes, of course, I'll share with you, but notes itself will not be sufficient. You should be able to solve any problem, okay, any exercise problem. See, what I will do is I'll just pick all the different types of problems, okay, all the different types of problems. I'll just pick and I'll try to solve. But for you, I cannot tell this particular problem will come in exam like that. It's not possible. Okay, this is not a theory subject. So what I can teach you is an approach. Okay, so using that approach, you should be able to solve any problem, and it won't be difficult for you. It will be very easy. Okay, no need to worry. Okay, so coming to this module 1, as I have told you, it is divided into two parts: mathematical logic 1 and logic 2. Okay, so in the mathematical logic 1, so here what we are going to deal is see, actually, we are going to give the symbolic language proof. Okay, so for if I tell one statement, if I have to justify that statement, okay, I will try to justify that using the symbolic language. Okay, so how we are going to do that, I'll teach you. Okay, so first, coming to the definitions. Okay, in DMS, actually, along with the problems, they will also ask the definitions. Definition sometimes, but whenever they ask the definition, just if you write a sentence, that won't be sufficient. Always you have to give the example. Any remember this, whenever in exam, if they ask the definition for you, along with the sentence, you have to give one example. Without example, if you keep, definitely you will lose the marks. Okay, and one more thing, if you have in your mind like this time also exams will get cancelled, no, it will never happen. From now onwards, it won't happen, because the thing is already the exams have been conducted for 8th semester and it is successful. Okay, so VTU, definitely they won't cancel the exams. So your last working day is like December 17. If in case instead of offline classes, the classes go online. Okay, so after that, definitely they will conduct the exams. So this time, please don't keep in mind that again the exams will get cancelled. No, it will not happen. 100% from now onwards, it won't happen. So whatever the problems that we solve, so try to be involved in this and practice. Okay, so don't keep in your mind again the exams will get cancelled. No, it won't happen. Okay, and as I have already given you my idea, actually the thing is my classes is on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Tuesday I'll be starting with the module 1. Wednesday module 3, I have told you, right? Okay, from next week onwards I will follow that. And what I will do is Friday class, every Friday class, whatever the previous year question papers are there. Okay, suppose if we have completed some 3 topics. Okay, so on the in 3 days, if we have completed some 3 topics in module 1 and 2 topics in say for example module 3, out of those topics, whatever the questions that have been already appeared in the exam, okay, I'll just post those questions, and I'll give some time. Let me see whether you are able to solve it or not. And of course, definitely it will give you the confidence, right? So when you will solve the exam problems, definitely it will give you the confidence, and you will also get the idea how you have to how the problems might occur in the exam, right? And in a subject like this, actually, what the students will do is always they will tend to keep the answer. Okay, So whatever the final answer is there, they will always try to focus on the answer. But if you want to get the full marks, only the answer won't be sufficient. Okay, for each and every step there will be the marks. Okay, maybe after a couple of weeks, I will just share you the scheme of valuation. Okay, so whenever a faculty goes for the valuation, so first what they will be giving is a scheme. So they will ask the evaluators to evaluate based on the scheme. Like for example, in the question number 1, just if you put the final answer will carry just 1 or 2 marks. That's all. Okay, so they will give the marks for each and every step. So how actually they are going to give the marks and all that scheme, I will just share with you. Okay, so okay, anyhow, let us start with the session. So proposition. Okay, fine. So what do you mean by proposition? As I have already told you, for every definition in the DMS subject, you have to give the example. Without example, you won't get the full marks. Okay, so here a proposition, it is just a statement. Okay, so it is just a statement which in a given context it can be categorized into either true or false. See, here we are not focusing on the final result. Okay, so any statement which can be judged as true or false is called as a proposition. For example, I'll just go with the example number 5 first. Okay, so here 2 plus 4 is equal to 30. Based on the definition, whatever I have told, do you think is it a proposition? Just answer me yes or no. Is it a proposition or not? Example 5. Yes, exactly, it is a proposition. Of course, the answer is wrong. 2 plus 4 is not equal to 30, it is equal to 6. But still, it is a proposition. Why? Because it is a statement which can be categorized into true or false, right? Like for example, if I take example number 4. So now, tell me whether example number 4 is a proposition or not. Okay, you are answering yes, but the answer is no. See, actually, example number 4 is not a proposition. I'll tell you the reason. See here, what he has given is x plus 9 is equal to 20. This statement, whatever he has given, I cannot tell whether it is true or false. Why? Because unless I know the value of x, I cannot judge whether x plus 9 is equal to 20 or not. Okay, so these kind of statements, they are not propositions. Okay, rather they are called as open statements. Okay, what is that open statement? We will see in the next chapter. Okay, so now you have to just focus on the proposition. Okay, so the final thing is a proposition is a statement which can be either categorized as a true or false. Okay, so now coming to the example 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. Of course, definitely I can categorize this as true or false. Of course, it is true. It is a proposition. And example number 2, tomorrow is a holiday. So what do you think? Tomorrow is a holiday. Is it a proposition or not? Exactly. It is not a proposition because it is unpredictable, right? We cannot tell whether tomorrow is holiday or not. But yesterday was a holiday. It is a proposition. Of course, yesterday, in spite of Pranab Mukherjee has expired, they are not given any holiday. It's okay, fine. The thing is, it is a proposition. Okay, so here we can tell this, we can judge this as true or false. Okay, so this is a proposition. So now you got an idea, right? A proposition is a statement which can be categorized as true or false. That's all. Okay. So in exam, along with the definition, you have to give any one example. And don't give these examples. The thing is, I was telling you, these are not propositions. Example number 4 and example number 2. Okay, they are not propositions. Okay, so next, the thing is, sometimes what will happen is we will be having more than one statement. Like if tomorrow rain falls, then there will be a holiday. Okay, so like if you see the previous statement, whatever I have told, okay, if tomorrow rain falls, then there will be a holiday. Okay, so here if you carefully observe, actually it is not a single sentence, rather it is multiple sentences are there, right? So tomorrow rain falls is the first sentence, and the college will be holiday, it is the second sentence. So if I have more than one sentence, definitely I need to combine them. Okay, so to combine them, we have some basic phrases or words like and, or, if, then, if and only. Like this, we have some basic connectives. Okay, so whatever the words are there, symbolically these are called as conjunction, disjunction, conditional, biconditional, negation. Okay, so these are very much important. Okay, so what are these basic connectives? What are the rules for that? I'll tell you in detail. Okay, so these are some of the basic logical connectives that are there in your syllabus. Okay, so coming to the first one, negation. as we already know, negation, I think most of you would have already studied this. Negation is just an opposite statement. Okay, so whatever the declaration I make, if I tell the negation, I just have to tell the opposite of that. Okay, so just if you take this example, so 3 is an odd number. I have taken this as a proposition P. Okay, so P is a proposition, so which tells 3 is an odd number. Okay, and if I take the negation of that, of course, the symbol is like this. Okay, the symbol is like this, or you can use this symbol. Okay, you can use any of these symbols for the for the negation. So if I take P as 3 is an odd number and its negation is 3 is not an odd number. Okay, and don't think about truth and falseness of the statement. Okay, 3 is not an odd number, it is false. Okay, it's okay, fine. You need not to worry about true or false of the statement. Just what you need to do is negation, in the sense just you have to tell the opposite of the statement. Okay, so today is a festival day. If it is taken as a P, then its negation will be it is not a festival day, like that, right? So the negation is something like it's just an opposite. Okay, and here I think most of you would have already studied about the truth tables, right? See, actually, if I take the and truth values, either you can take it as 0, 1, or you can take it as even true or false. Both are fine. Okay, so I'll repeat. While writing the truth tables, either you can take 0, 1, or you can take true or false. Anything is fine. Okay, so it's very simple. For example, for the proposition P, if you take all the possible combinations, of course there will be only 2 possible combinations, right? A proposition, it can be either false, that is 0, or it can be true, that is 1. Okay, and when you find the negation of that, if P is 0, then its negation will be, of course, 1. If P is 1, then its negation will be 0, right? So it is very simple rule for the negation. Okay, so after this, let's see the next one. The next one is a conjunction. Okay, so conjunction, you have to use the symbol. So this is the symbol for the conjunction. Okay, when you read this, you have to read this as P and Q. Okay, and the rule for the conjunction is very much simple. When you have 2 propositions, say for example P and Q, so the truthness will be like the combination of P and Q will be true only when both are true. Otherwise it is false. Okay, so I was now actually previously for the negation I had only single proposition, that is P, but now for the conjunction I have 2 propositions. Okay, so that is proposition P and proposition Q, and when you are taking all the possible combinations for this, you have 2 propositions. Of course the number of rows will be equal to 2 power 2. Okay, if you want to cover all the possible combinations, definitely you need to have 4 rows. Okay, so I'll take all the possible combinations 1, 1. So I'll repeat, I told you either you can take 1 and 0, or you can take true and false. Both are correct. Okay, so I have taken 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0. Fine. So now the rule for the conjunction I have told you, the conjunction will be true only when both are true. If you see the first row, both P and Q, both the statements are true, so the result will also be true. In all the other combinations, it is false. See, actually, if I have to give an example for the conjunction, I'll give an example. Like for example, the rectangle has 4 sides and the square has 4 sides. Okay, so if I tell a statement like this, so the truthness of the compound statement, whatever I have told, it will be true only when both are true. Okay, otherwise it will be false. Of course, I think it doesn't make any sense now. Anyhow, when we solve the problems, you will understand better. But now what you have to understand is the conjunction, it will be true only when both are true. Okay. Okay, so the next is the disjunction. Okay, so when I tell the disjunction, so here the rule is very simple. The symbol for this is first of all or. Okay, so you just have to read this as or, P or Q. Okay, so I'll take the same combinations 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0. See, definitely on the truth table you will get one question. Okay, so they will either give you one compound proposition and ask you to find the truth values of that, or they will give one compound proposition and they will ask you to check whether it is a tautology or contradiction. What is a tautology contradiction? I'll tell you later. or they will give two compound propositions, and they will ask you to check whether they are logically equivalent or not. Okay, so this kind of questions definitely they will ask one, and it will be around for 7 to 8 marks. Okay, anyhow, for the disjunction, the rule is very simple. It will be true if at least one proposition is true. Okay, so here we have two propositions, P and Q. So even if at least if a single proposition is true, the result will be true. Okay, so if I tell at least, so if you see the third row, the Q is true. So since at least one is true, it will be true, the result will be true. So in the second row, the first one is true, so it will be true. In the last one, both are false, so the result will be false. So when I tell at least one, even if both are true also, it will be fine. Okay, so this is the truth table for the disjunction. So the rule is quite simple. So for the disjunction, it will be true if at least one proposition is true. If at least one proposition is true, the result will be equal to true. Okay. See, for this again, if I have to tell one example, so I'll tell my friend, okay, either you get the chocolate tomorrow or you get day after tomorrow. Okay, so when I tell my friend to get the chocolate either tomorrow or day after tomorrow, so now don't you think that if my friend gets me a chocolate tomorrow, it is correct, right? So whatever the thing that I have told for me, he has obeyed, it is true, right? In the similar way, instead of tomorrow, even if he brings day after tomorrow also, it's fine. And of course, again, if he brings tomorrow also, day after tomorrow also, that is also super fine. Okay, so anyhow, the thing is, what I'm trying to tell is, so here a statement, when you use or for the statement, so if any one holds good also, it is fine. Okay, okay, so that is about the distinction. But when I tell and, both the statements has to be true. Okay, so that is about the conjunction, disjunction, and this is conditional. See, for the problems point of view, this conditional, it is very much important. You have to clearly understand this. Okay, module 1 is completely dependent on this conditional. Okay, this is very much important. Okay, so what the conditional tells, I'll tell you. Before that, let me just write down the truth values. I'll just combinations. If you have only two propositions, then 4 combinations. Suppose 3 propositions, then 2 power 3, 8 combinations. If you have to cover all the combinations, then you require at least 8 rows. Okay, so here the conditional is like okay, first I'll tell you the symbol. So the symbol for the conditional is this one, arrow mark. Okay, and when you are reading this, you have to use the words if then. Okay, and if has to be before P, the first proposition, and then has to be before the second proposition, that is Q. Okay, so if you are combining if then you have to use conditional, that is P implies Q. Okay, so now I will give an example. Okay, so let me first give you the same example whatever I have given previously. If tomorrow rain falls, then the college will be holiday. Okay, so let us take the same sentence. Okay, if you split this compound sentence, again there will be 2 sentences, right? Tomorrow rains is a college will be holiday is the second sentence, right? So now if tomorrow rains, then you have to think about whether the college is working or not. Otherwise you need not to worry, right? So whenever if see, actually if tomorrow rains, I'll take it as true. Okay, so in the first 2 rows, so it is like tomorrow rains. Okay, so if you take the third row and the fourth row, see what I'm trying to do is, for P, I'm relating the first sentence. For P, I have taken the sentence as tomorrow rains. For Q, I have taken the sentence as college will be holiday. I'll repeat. For P, I have taken as tomorrow rain will come, and Q I have taken as college is a holiday. Okay. If you have 0 for P, what does that indicate? It indicates that tomorrow rain is not falling. If tomorrow rain is not falling, then whether the college is holiday or not, I don't care, because if you want to judge my sentence, see, actually I have made a statement. My statement is, if tomorrow rains, then the college will be holiday. This is my statement. Okay, so if you want to judge my statement, so first of all, tomorrow rain should come, right? Otherwise you need not to judge my statement, because whether if it is a holiday or not, it doesn't matter, right? Based on that, you cannot judge me. So of course, if tomorrow rains, so if you have 1 here, then it indicates that tomorrow will rain. So if tomorrow rains, then whether the college is holiday or not, depending on that, you can judge me, right? So in the second row, if you take tomorrow has been raining and the college is not a holiday, in that case, whatever the statement that I have made, right? Whatever the statement that I have made is wrong. See, actually, sorry, for the last two statements, what I have told is for the third and the fourth row. So you cannot judge that, right? So based on that, you cannot tell me whether I have told true or not. Okay, so for that it will be one only. So here you cannot judge me. So my statement will be true itself. So you cannot tell my statement is false. Okay, so whereas in the second row, tomorrow has been raining. It has been raining, but the college is not holiday, because college is holiday. I have taken as Q. If it is 0, it is not holiday. So in that case, what will happen? Whatever the statement that I have made is wrong. So here it is 0. So now let us see the first case. So first case tells that tomorrow is raining and tomorrow is holiday. I have taken Q as tomorrow is holiday, right? So tomorrow is holiday. So now clearly whatever the statement that I have told is true. Okay. So if it is confusing for you, I'll just conclude in a simple way. See, actually, for the first one, that is conjunction, I told you it will be true only when both are true. Only when P and Q are true, the result will be true. For disjunction, I have told you that at least if one proposition is true, then the result will be true itself. Whereas for the conditional, so it will be false only in one case. I'll repeat, for the conditional, it will be false in only one case. What is that case? If the first proposition is true and if the second proposition is false, the result will be false. That is in the second row. Okay, that is in the second row. If the first one is true and the second one is false, the result will be false. In all the remaining cases, it will be true only. Okay, see this conditional from the module 1 perspective, this is very much important. You have to understand this very carefully. So there are many problems related to this. So okay, finally I'll repeat once. So the conditional will be false in only one case. Only one case. What is that case? If the first one is true and the second one is false, then the result will be false. In all the remaining cases, it will be true only. Okay, in all the remaining cases, it will be true. Okay, so that is about the conditional. Next is a biconditional. Okay, so the biconditional, actually from exam point of view, definitely this is not at all important. Okay, so maybe in the truth table they might ask the question. That also in the previous year question papers, at least 4 to 5 years back, have not seen any question on this biconditional. Okay, so anyhow, you just have to learn this. So this biconditional, the rule is pretty simple. It will be true only when both are same. Okay, so if you see the first row, P and Q both are same, so it will be the one only. And if you see the last row, both are same, irrespective of whether it is true or false. If both are same, then the result will be true. Okay, so that is about the biconditional. Whereas in the second row, they are different, right? P is true and Q is false. It's different. Whereas in the third row, it tells like P is false and Q is true. It is different. Okay. So the biconditional, the rule is pretty simple. So it will be true only when both are same. Okay. So here the symbols got changed. This is not the symbol. Okay. Anyhow, the rule you have understood, right? Example. Okay. Someone are asking an example for this. Okay. You only tell me one example. It is like see, actually biconditional in the sense it is an extension of the conditional. Okay, like for example, if it is true in the forward direction and also the backward direction. Okay, I'll just give the same example. If tomorrow rains, then college is holiday. If college is holiday, then tomorrow if college is holiday, then tomorrow it will get rained. Okay, so something like this. Okay, no need to worry about the example for this type of problems. Okay, actually the thing is you just have to remember the rules. Okay, you just have to remember the rules. So based on these rules, they will ask the problems. Okay, that is, they will give one compound proportion, and you have to what is that? You have to find the final truth values of that. Okay. So I'll repeat the biconditional, as I have told you, it has to true from both the sides. Like P implies Q should be true, and also Q implies P must be true. So then it will be true. Okay, so what you have to remember is this conditional, disjunction, and conjunction. These three are very much important. Okay, and especially this conditional, I'll repeat again. So it will be false in only one case, when the first one is true and the second one is false. In all the remaining cases, it will be true. Okay. See, actually. See, actually, the symbol that I have used is different, but here I'm getting a moon symbol. Are everyone seeing the same symbol, moon symbol? Okay, but actually I think okay, let us take this as just implies. Okay, from now onwards, the moon symbol, you just consider it as implication. I think this format is not getting supported. Okay, so I'll just change it to conditional. Just a moment. Okay. See, actually, this example, what he has done is he has taken three propositions, P, Q, and R. Okay, so in the first proposition, P he has defined like a circle is a conic, and Q he has defined as 5 is an odd number, and R. See, actually, I have forgotten to start recording. Okay, someone would have told me, right? Okay, it's okay. So P, Q, R, I have he has taken three sentences, and what he has done is express the following compound proportion in words. Okay, so he has given in the symbolic form, and whatever the symbolic form he has given, now I just have to convert this into sentences. Okay, see, actually this is pretty basic exercise for you, but the thing is, it is important because we have the problems on we have a topic called rules of inferences. So in that rules of inferences, definitely if you don't know if you don't know the conversion from symbolic form to sentence form, and again from sentence to symbolic form, so you cannot solve those problems. Okay, so from that perspective, this is important. Okay, but in exam, of course, they won't ask these kind of questions, but from that topic, there is the rules of inferences. If you have to solve the problems on that, definitely you should be having the idea on this. Okay, so now when you see the first compound proposition, that is P ampersand negation of Q. Okay, so if you convert this into sentence, what will happen? So P he has already given as a circle is a conic, and you already know about this conjunction in the sense it is and. Okay, and negation of Q. Okay, so negation, you already know, whatever the sentence that he has given, the opposite of that will be negation. Okay, so Q he has given like 5 is an odd number, so then negation of Q in the sense definitely 5 is not an odd number. Okay, so now in a combined way, if you have to tell this in the form of a sentence, so the first one will be like a circle is a conic, and if you have the conjunction, you have to use the word and that I have told you previously, right? So a circle is a conic, and 5 is not an odd number, because he has given negation. Okay, so like this, you have to convert that into sentence form. So similarly, the second one. Okay, so the second one, what he is telling is negation of P or Q. So P is a circle is a conic. So negation of P in the sense a circle is not a conic. Okay, so it will be like a circle is not a conic, and you have the symbol here disjunction. So when you have disjunction, I told you you have to use or. I'll repeat, when you have the disjunction symbol, you have to use or. So it is like a circle is a conic or Q in the sense 5 is an odd number. So in a combined way, you have to tell it as a circle is not a conic and 5 is an odd number. So that is the symbolic form he has given. So and the third one is, this is very much important. I told you, if you have the symbol conditional, whenever you have the symbol conditional, the words that you have to use is if then. If has to be prefixed with the first sentence and then has to be prefixed with the second sentence. Okay, so now what he is telling is Q implies negation of P. So Q is 5 is an odd number. Okay, so since you have the conditional here, so you have to use if then. So now you have to tell this if 5 is an odd number, then a circle is not a conic. Since you have negation here, you have to tell not. Okay, so I think now you got some idea, right? And when you see the fourth example, actually, see actually here, whenever you have to be pretty much careful with the parenthesis. Okay, so whatever this P implies is there, this is not for only the Q or not for only the R. Okay, so it is for both Q and R. First you have to combine Q and R. For the result of Q and R, for that you have to apply the conditional. Okay, so when you are converting this into sentences, you have to tell like if circle is a conic, then there are two combinations, that is 5 is an odd number and what is that, square has 4 sides. Okay, so like that you have to tell See, as I have told you, when you are solving the problems especially, so first of all, you have to find the solution for Q and R. Later, you have to find the solution for P implies of this one. Okay. So it's not like first P implies Q like that. Okay. So anyhow, the last one, Q double implies R. It is like, I told you, right? Q double implies R in the sense, biconditional in the sense, it has to be true both in the forward and also the backward direction. Like you just have to split this as Q implies R must be true and R implies Q must be true. Then only Q double implies R will be true. Okay, so when you are reading this, how to read that? Phi, if phi is an odd number, then square has four sides, and you have to tell in the reverse direction. And if square has a four sides, then phi is an odd number. Okay, so like that you need to read. Okay, I think you have got some idea how to convert this symbolic forms into sentences. Okay, so when we solve, when we go into the topic called rules of inference, and we have one more topic called converse, inverse, and contrapositive. Okay, so in these two topics, you will understand better how to convert the sentences into symbolic form and vice versa. Okay, so this is one more example. Okay, see, actually, if you could able to write the symbolic form these for these sentences, definitely you can solve problems on this converse, inverse, and contrapositive and rules of inferences. Okay, so just I'll just leave this as an exercise for you only. So you just take some 5 minutes time. Okay, so just read out this question. See, actually, I'll just read the question for you. See, he has given some four propositions, P, Q, R, S. Okay, and what is this P, Q, R, S? Sentences he has given. Okay, P is like, I finished writing my computer program before lunch, and Q is a proposition which tells that I shall play the tennis in this afternoon. R is like the sun is shining, and S is the humidity is low. Okay, so these are the four propositions he has given, and for four propositions, based on that, he has framed a compound statements. Okay, so he has given a different statements by using different words. Okay, so now for each and every statement, you just have to convert this into symbolic form. Okay, so try to combine these four into symbolic form, and but I think you cannot text the answer for this, because yeah, of course, yeah, I think you can type, right? I think if you are using the laptop, definitely I think the symbols are available. Conjunction, disjunction. For disjunction, you can just use the V symbol. V symbol is fine for disjunction. Okay, arrow mark, of course, you can do. Okay, you just post the answers for this. Take 2 minutes time, analyze that, and post the answers. Okay, so everyone are posting the answers only for the first two sub questions. Of course, it is correct. See, actually, since you have the words if Actually, the thing is, it's very important. Actually, you have to remember this. In even the question papers and most of the textbooks, okay, what they have done is instead of using then, they have used only if. Okay, so even if they don't give then, okay, even if that word is missing, you have to consider this sentence like it is having then only. Okay, in some old textbooks they have given clearly then, if then, but in most of the textbooks they have given only if. Okay, so even if you have only if, you have to consider this as conditional only. Okay, so the first sentence is if the sun is shining. So as I have told you, if you have if, even if you don't have then, you have to consider it as then only. Okay, so then I shall play tennis in this tennis this afternoon. So sun is shining is R, and playing tennis in the afternoon is Q. So it will be R implies Q, and the second sentence is P implies Q, because finishing writing the computer program is P, and Q is playing tennis in the afternoon. So they have combined that using if then. So definitely it is P implies Q. Very good. So on the third question, yeah, some students have answered. See, actually, what the third sentence is telling is again, if you again here you have if in the sense you have to use conditional only. So, but actually, if you observe this carefully, here there are no there are three sentences, not two sentences. So it is like if the sun is not shining and humidity is low. If the sun is not shining and humidity is low, then see, actually before then you have got two sentences. Okay, since you have got two sentences, okay, so you have to write the propositions for them and you have to put it in a bracket. Okay, sun is not shining. Sun is shining in the sense that is R. Not shining in the sense that will be negation of R, right? So negation of R, and in the sense you have to use conjunction, and humidity is low. Humidity is low in the sense that will be yes. If these two conditions are satisfied together, if these two conditions are satisfied, then you have to use the conditional. Then what is the case? Then I will not play tennis in the afternoon. See, actually, if I play tennis in the afternoon, that is Q, but if I don't play tennis in the afternoon, that is negation of Q. Okay, most of them have answered correctly. Very good. See, like this, whenever they give the sentences, if you don't know how to convert that into symbolic form itself first, you cannot solve, you cannot go further. Okay, so this is very much important, converting the sentences into symbolic form, right? So again, the last one is like I shall play tennis this afternoon if the sun is shining and humidity is low. So if you observe this, he has not given a single conditional here. He has given a double conditional. Actually, I have not told you this. Sorry. Instead of if you have I double F. Okay. So instead of IF, if you have I double F, it indicates biconditional. Okay. If you have I double F, the meaning of that is if and only. If and only. So for this, you have to take the condition from forward to back, front to, you have to take the condition from forward direction and also backward direction. Okay, so here I'll just tell you there are two sentences. Playing the tennis in the afternoon. Okay, playing the tennis in the afternoon, that is Q, right? Next, what you have, if the sun is shining in the humidity. Okay, so this will be you will play tennis in the afternoon if and only if in the sense I told you, you have to use a biconditional. If you have I double F, you have to use a biconditional. So after this, how many sentences are there? Sun is shining and humidity is low. So sun is shining in the sense R, humidity is low in the sense yes, and you have combined both the sentences using the word and in the sense you have to use, so and in the sense you have to use conjunction. Okay, so you have to use a bracket for this. Okay, so when we solve more problems on rules of inferences, there you will understand better. So anyhow, I think now you have some idea how to convert the sentences into symbolic form. This is very much important. Okay, and in exam, from the exam point of view, you must be knowing conditional, that is and, or sorry, conjunction, disjunction, and conditional. These three are very much important. So this biconditional usually they won't ask. Okay, fine. So now you know how to convert the sentences into symbolic form, and if they give in a symbolic form, how to convert into sentences, that also you know. Fine. And of course, we'll solve more problems on that. No need to worry. Okay. So again, this is one example. See, I told you, right, wherever you have the moon symbol, so you just consider it as conditional. I'm sorry, actually, I think the format is not supported here. Okay, so just consider this as conditional itself, not biconditional, just conditional. Okay. See, actually, previously I have explained you the truth tables, right, for conjunction, disjunction, and conditional. If you have understood those truth tables correctly, I'll just repeat that. Okay. So the rule for conjunction, what is the rule? So it will be true only when both are true. And the rule for disjunction, it will be true when at least one proposition is true. And the rule for conditional is it will be false only in one case. That is, the first one is true and the second one is false, right? So based on this, so in exam, these kind of problems definitely they will ask you. Okay, for 3 to 5 months they will ask. See, what he has given is, if P and Q are some primitive statements. Okay, fine, and he has given that P implies Q is false, and now he is asking you to find the truth values of this following compound propositions. I'll just solve the first problem. Okay, see, what he has given is P implies Q is false. So since P implies Q is false, okay, most of them have already started answering. Very good. So since P implies Q is false, he has told. So now you only tell me it will be false only in one case, right? What is that case? That is, the first one is true and the second one is false. In only this case, the result will be false. In all the remaining cases, it will be true only. So now indirectly, he has given the value of P and he has given the value of Q. So now you already know the truth values of P and Q. So using which, don't you think you can find the answers for these things? So I'll just solve the first one. So since we already know the value of P and we already know the value of Q, so the answer for the first one is, so P is true and Q is false. So now tell me, what is 1 and 0? What is the value of 1 and 0? For your reference, I'll just open the truth table again. I know most of you have already understood this, but if you are having any confusion, I'll just open this. See, actually, if P and Q are 1 and 0, then the result will be 0 itself, right? So the answer for the first one is, sorry. Okay, so the answer for the first one is 0. So similarly for the second one, okay, so I'll solve this. So negation of P, already P is true. So negation of P in the sense it will be 0. 0 disjunction. And what is Q? Q is 0. What is 0 or 0? Again it will be 0 only. So the answer is 0. So similarly you just solve for 3, 4, 5 and post the answer in the text. When you are posting the answer, you just give the numbers. For 3, what is the answer? For 4, what is the answer? For 5, what is the answer? Okay, take 2 minutes and answer. Okay, so very good, students, you have answered correctly. I told you, right? So in exam, definitely you can expect these kind of questions. For 3 to 5 marks, they will ask the questions. Okay, so for the third question, so it is like Q implies P. So the value of Q we already know, that is 0. 0 implies P. The P value is 1. So what is 0 implies 1? I told you it will be 1 only. So this conditional, it will be false only in the one case, that is the first one is true and the second one is false. In all the remaining cases, it will be true only. So the fourth one is negation of Q. So Q is 0, so negation of Q in the sense it will be 1. Okay, 1 implies negation of P. P is already 1, negation of P in the sense 0. So 1 implies 0 in the sense definitely the answer is equal to 0. Correct, right? So the answer for the fourth one is 0. So now the last one. So negation of P in the sense it will be 0 ampersand. What is Q? Q is 0. Okay, 0 ampersand 0. So within the parenthesis, I told you repeatedly, whenever you have parenthesis, you have to be very careful. First, you have to give the solution for the symbols that are present within the parenthesis. Then you have to think later. Okay, so the Q you have, Q is actually 0. Okay, so within parenthesis, first you have to solve 0 ampersand 0. It will be again 0. Okay, so 0 implies 0. So what is 0 implies 0? Again, it will be 1 only. So the answers are 0, 0, 1, 0, and 1. Okay. Okay. So if you have understood this correctly, I told you, right? So once if you are familiar with that truth tables, so you can solve any problems of this kind. Okay. Okay. So similar question. So this is also one of the exam problem. This question actually they have asked for 5 marks. This question they have asked in 2017, June, July 2017. For 5 marks they have asked. Okay. So each one will carry 2.5 marks. Okay, I told you, right? So this one you have to consider it as implication, conditional. Okay, so now try to see what he is telling is, so he has given the value of this compound proposition. Okay, so P implies of, Q implies R. The final answer he has given as false. And now he is asking you to find the value of P, Q, and R. I think you can solve this. Okay, so take 2 minutes time and try to post the answers. Later I will give the solution for this. When you're posting the answers, you just give the question numbers also for question number 1 or question number 2. I think first one, most of you have solved it easily. See, actually what he is telling is P implies of, Q or R is false. Since the final result is false, and you already know that this conditional, it will be false in only one case. And what is that case? That is the first one is true and the second one is false. Okay, so with this I have already got the value of P, right? So the value of P is 1, right? And whereas the value of Q and R I had to find. See, you already know that the second part, that is Q or R, which is disjunction, it will be false in only one case. What is that case? If both are false, then the result will be false. Otherwise, it will be true only, right? So since this result is false, obviously Q and R both has to be false. So now with this, easily now you have found the values of P, Q, R in the first problem. Okay, and here you don't have any ambiguity, so that's why easily you have got the answers. But whereas for the second problem, if you observe, okay, so now let us try to solve the second problem. See, what he is telling is P ampersand of Q implies R is true. Okay, fine. And since this is within the parenthesis, so now I have to highlight on this conditional, this conjunction. And we already know that the conjunction will be true. Since the final result is true, the conjunction will be true only when both are true, right? So with this, now I have already got the value of P. P is true. Whereas Q and R, what I will get is the answer is equal to 1. Okay, so now I'll just do one thing. I'll just write like this. Now I have to find the values of P, Q, R. Okay. Okay. So now, in the first case, actually, the thing is P is true, you have got. Okay, well and good. But Q implies R. When you take Q implies R, it will be true in how many cases it will be true? See, whenever Q is false, whenever Q is 0, irrespective of the value of R, whether the value of R is 1 or whether the value of R is 0, the result will be true only, right? So this Q implies R, it will be true in 3 cases. Even if the value of Q is 1 and if the value of R is 1, then also it will be true only. Okay, so for the question like this, actually there is an ambiguity. So here you won't get a single answer. Okay, so here you have to write 3 answers. What you have to do is in exam you have to write the table like this, right? See, actually the final result, whatever we have, that is P ampersand of Q implies R is true. So using which now we need to find the individual values for P, Q, R. But when we are trying to solve this, in the first step, what we have done is, since we have the conditional, so it will be true only when both are true. So when P is true and Q implies R is true. But now here definitely we have the ambiguity. The ambiguity is Q implies R will be true in not a single case. In 3 cases it will be true. That is when the first one is 0, second one is 1. When first one is 0, second one is 0. When the first one is 1 and second one is 1. All are true. So right, for this one, so you have to write all these 3 possible cases, right? So in exam, I'll repeat. This is one of the exam problem, right? So for the first one, the value of P, Q, R directly we have got. Whereas for the second problem, the P value will be always 1, but the Q and R values, it is like a combination. Okay, so either it can be 0, 1, or it can be 0, 0, or it can be 1, 1, but it cannot be 1 and 0. So that is the only exemption case. Okay, so as I have told you, in exam you have to write the table like this. Okay, so any doubt in this problem? You have understood, right? The second problem, is there any doubt? Because it's very much important. In exam they will ask these kind of questions only. Okay, good. Okay, so now let me see how many of you will solve this. See, actually take time, take 5 minutes time. When you are posting the answers, don't post for only one question, one sub question. Post the answers for all the sub questions. Okay, so in this problem, this is also one of the exam problem. This question they have asked in January 2017. Okay, so the previous question was asked in June, July 2017. This question they have asked in January 2017. For 5 marks only they have asked. Okay, each question will carry 1.25 marks. Okay, and I told you, right, wherever you have this moon symbol, you just consider it as conditional. Okay, so in this question, what he has done is he has given the values for P, Q, and R. So the value of P is 0, the value of Q is 0, and the value of R is 1. Using which you need to find the answers for these questions. Okay, and wherever you have moon, again I'll repeat, you just consider this as conditional. Okay, so now try to find the answers for all the sub questions. When you are posting the answers, post the answer for all the sub questions at a time. Like for 1, what is the answer? For 2, what is the answer? Like that you have to post. Okay, so take 5 minutes time. Okay, so very good, students. So the answer is one for all the sub questions, right? I think now you have understood how to solve these kind of problems. Fine. See, as I have already told you, if you are familiar with that rules for conjunction, disjunction, and conditional, you can solve any problems of this kind. So similarly, as I have told you, sometimes they will give one compound proposition. Okay, so when they give one compound proposition, so they will ask you to find the truth values of that one. Okay, so that also, if you know the rules of this basic connectives, you can solve any problems of that kind. So now in the exam, actually they can ask the questions of this kind, and if they ask the questions of this type, usually it will be there for 5 to 6 marks depending upon how many propositions they have given. So when you see the first one, that is P or Q ampersand of negation of Q. So here you have only two propositions, that is P and Q. So 4 rows, right? So if they ask these kind of questions, it will be for 2.5 marks. But whereas when you see the third one, that is P ampersand Q implication of negation of R. So when there are three proportions, they might ask for some five marks. Okay, and if it is still complicated, they can ask for 6 to 7 marks. But when usually these kind of questions, what they will do is they will give one compound proportion and they will ask you to find whether it is a tautology or contradiction. Okay, so what is that? I'll tell you later. So now first try to solve this kind of problems first. Okay, so the first one, I'll just solve one problem. Okay, so definitely it will be, I think you would have studied these kind of problems in your first PC and second PC. I think it will be, even in school days also, maybe you would have studied this. It will be very easy for you. Since in the first compound proposition, we have only two propositions, that is P and Q. I told you, right, when you have only two propositions to cover all the possibilities, I just require 4 rows. Okay, so based on this, I'll just take all the possible combinations. Okay, I'll just solve one problem. Remaining problems you can solve. 1 0 1 0. Fine. Okay, so in exam also, actually most of the students, you will be having the caliber. Okay, so you will be having the caliber to tell the answers directly, because you know P or Q. See, if you see the first one, P or Q, 1 or 1, that is 1 ampersand of negation Q, that will be 1 ampersand of 0, that will be 0 only. So if you write the answer directly, you won't get the marks. See, actually I told you, right, for steps there will be marks. First of all, you have to write the table clearly, and you just, whatever the compound one he has given, you just split into at least 2-3 parts. Okay, so you have to fill all directly. If you write the answer, so the examiner might think like you have copied the values from your from other student and you have directly written the answer. No, you should not do like that. So you just split this into smaller parts. So whatever the compound proposition is there, you just split this into simple propositions. So in this one, first you have to find the values for negation of Q. So since you know the value of Q, so the negation of Q will be, for 1 it will be 0. So since you have 0 here, it will be 1, and since you have 1 here, it will be 0, and since you have 0 here, it will be 1. Okay, so after this P or Q, you already know the rule for OR, that is disjunction. It will be false only when both are false. Okay, so 1 and 1 or 1, it will be 1. 1 or 0, it will be 1. 0 or 1, it will be 1. 0 or 0, it will be 0. Okay, so after this, so now you have to find the combination between these two using the symbol ampersand. Okay, so 1 and 0, it will be 0 only. 1 and 1, it will be 1. 1 and 0, it will be 0. 0 and 1, it will be 0. Okay, so the truth values of this following compound proposition is this one. In exam, after finding the answer, so the final column of wherever you have got the answer, that you need to highlight that using one box. See, actually these are, I think it might actually you might think it is silly, but the thing is, you know, while evaluating, the evaluators, they won't be having the patience to check for the answers where you have written. Okay, of course it will be in the final column only, but it is for this kind of problems it is fine. But whenever they ask the questions related to logical equivalence, okay, so what they will do is they will give two compound propositions and they will ask you to check whether they are logically equivalent or not. So in that case, what will happen, you will be writing multiple columns, out of which only two columns you will be finding which are you will be checking whether they are logically equivalent or not. Okay, so in those kind of problems, what you have to do is you have to put one column like this. Okay, so it will be helpful for the examiner to easily check for the answer. Okay, so whether you have written the answer correctly or not, it will be easy for them to check. Okay, so for this kind of problems, okay, it's fine. Anyhow, the final answer will be in the last column itself. Okay, there won't be a problem. So now you have understood, right? So how to write the truth values for this. So similarly, now you try to solve this problem, and you just tell me the final truth values. So I will also be solving this parallelly. So you also solve it, and finally post the final truth values. See, subjects like this, you have to practice actually. So just if you listen, it won't be helpful for you. Okay, for this subject especially, what you have to do is you have to carry one paper and pen. While listening, whenever I tell you to solve a problem, you have to solve. So finally, he's asking for the distinction between this column and this column. Okay, so P or Q ampersand P. So it will be one or one. So the answer is 1100. Okay, very good. Most of you have solved it. Okay. So now in this problem, actually, if you observe, we don't have two propositions, rather we have three propositions. Okay. So now try to solve this. So when you have three propositions, you have to take all the possible combinations. So you require at least 2 power 3 rows, that is 8 rows. So when you are taking the combinations, you just take like this: 4 ones followed by 4 zeros. Then 1100. In exam, they won't ask you more than 3 propositions. At most, they will go till 3. So you can solve the problems in 8 rows. It won't exceed more than that. But I told you, right? In exam, based on the truth table, they will ask at least one question. Every year, they will ask one question. Using the truth table, you have to find whether two propositions are logically equivalent, or you just have to find the truth values, or they will ask you to check whether it is tautology or contradiction, or they might ask a simple problem like we have solved previously. He will give the values of PQR, and he will give one compound proposition, and he will ask you to find the truth values of that. Or he will give the final end result, using which you need to identify the values of PQR like that. Okay, see, for negation of R, I have not taken any column, so I'll just write here only. I'll just tell you one common mistakes what students will do. See what will happen, no? So like this, you will write the truth table, everything is fine. But when you are writing the conditional, see actually when you are writing the conditional, this is like P ampersand of Q, conditional of negation of R. But when you are finding this answer, what you will do is you will find between this column and this column, and you will look in this direction, like negation of R, implication of P ampersand of Q. That is wrong. See actually what he has given is P ampersand Q implies of negation of R. You have to always look in this direction. Okay, so that is the most common mistake most of the students will do. Okay, while writing in the columns, what they will do is this part they would have written first, the second part, and they will look in this direction. whatever the answer you will get, definitely it will be wrong if you do like that. Okay, so be careful. So now 1 implies 0, you already know it will be 0 only. That is the only case where it will be false. In the 1 implies 1, it will be 1. 0 implies 0, 1. 0 implies 1, again 1. And since you have zeros here in the first place, blindly you can write 1, right? Because as you already know, the conditional will be false only when the first one is true and the second one is false. So the answer is 0 followed by 7 ones. Very good. Okay, so this is one more problem. So I won't solve this. You only solve and tell me the just tell me the final answer. Okay, students, am I audible now? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Thank you. I'll just repeat this again. See, actually, this is one more topic that is converse, inverse, and contrapositive. In exam, if they ask this topic, they will ask for 5 marks. Okay. It's not very, it's not a frequent question, but the thing is, out of every 3 or 4 question papers, once they will ask this question. Okay. Uh, the rules are pretty simple. So when you have P implies Q conditional, so how to find the converse, inverse, and contrapositive? For that, you just have to know this basic rules. Okay. So for a conditional P implies Q, its converse is given by Q implies P. Negation of P implies negation of Q is its inverse, and negation of Q implies negation of P is its converse, is its contrapositive. Okay. So if you know these 3 basic rules, you can solve the problems on this. Okay. So let us see one problem. So in the exam, they will ask the question like this: write down the converse, inverse, and contrapositive for the statement. Okay. And he only has given the statement. The statement is a person is successful in life if he puts the sincere efforts. Okay. See, actually, I have already told you whenever he is using if then, if has to be prefixed with the first sentence and the then has to come to the second sentence. But in some of the question papers and in some of the textbooks, they have done a mistake, like if they will put in between, like or under, they will also skip then part. Okay. So sometimes they won't write then, and if also they will write in the second sentence. But you just have to be careful whenever you find the word if. Just you have to use the symbol conditional. Okay. So be careful with that. So whatever the sentence that he has given in exam, directly you should not write the answer. Before that, what you have to do is you just have to split that compound sentence into simple sentences. Okay. So here, if you carefully observe, here there are 2 sentences. Person is successful, that you have to take it as one proposition. So here I have taken it as P. Okay. So like that, you just have to take it into one proposition. 1 minute. And similarly, if he puts the sincere efforts, okay, so he putting the sincere efforts, that I have taken it as Q. Okay. So first of all, the compound proposition I have taken into 2 propositions, P and Q. Okay. And now I have to find the converse, inverse, and contrapositive for this. And you already know in the previous slide, I have given you the rules for converse, inverse, and contrapositive, right? So converse, it's very simple. So it will be like Q implies P, right? So you just write that in the symbolic form first, and later, once you write it in the symbolic form, now you just put it in the form of a sentence. So for whatever the sentence that he has given, its converse is, if a person puts the sincere efforts, then he is successful. I'll repeat. So what he has given is, a person is successful in life if he puts the sincere efforts, but its converse is Q implies P. That is, if a person puts the sincere efforts, then he will be successful. Simple, right? So similarly, I have to find the inverse. The rule for inverse you already know. So it will be like negation of P implies negation of Q. So first you just write that in the symbolic form. That is, negation of P implies negation of Q. So once you write in the symbolic form, so converting that into sentence, I think it's pretty much simple, right? So negation of P, in the sense, P is a person is successful in life. Negation means a person is not successful in life. So you just have to write as, if a person is not successful in life, then he has not put the efforts. Okay. So he putting the efforts is Q. So he has not putting the efforts is negation of Q. So that is the inverse. So similarly, contrapositive, just a moment. So its contrapositive is negation of Q implies negation of P. Okay. So now if you write this in the form of sentence, it will be like, if a person does not put the sincere efforts, then he is not successful. I think now you got some idea, right? See, what you have to do is, for a given sentence, first of all, you just, in exam, you have to first carefully write each sentence in the as a proposition. Okay. So don't focus on the final answer. So first of all, you have to split the sentences into proposition. So next you have to write the converse, inverse, and contrapositive. So for each one, first of all, you have to write in the symbolic form. Before you write in the form of sentence, write in the symbolic form. Later you write the sentence. So if you do like that, you will get complete marks. Okay. So after writing into symbolic form, converting into sentence, I think it's easy for you. Okay. So now I have given two more examples. That is, if a triangle is not isosceles, then it is not equilateral. Okay, so here also you have two sentences: triangle not isosceles, triangle not equilateral. So you can take it as P and Q. So take 5 minutes time and you just think about it. Okay, so I'll just write the converse, inverse, and contrapositive. So the converse will be like Q implies P. Inverse is negation of P implies negation of Q. And its contrapositive is negation of Q implies negation of P. So this is converse, this is inverse, and this is contrapositive. Okay, so based on this, you just try to find the answers for this. Okay, no need to post anything. I think it will be difficult to post the answers for these kind of questions. Okay, so you just think for a while. Okay, so later I'll tell you the sentences, the final answers. Okay, students. So the for the first sentence, triangle is not isosceles. I'll take it as P. Triangle is not equilateral. I'll take it as Q. So now its converse will be Q implies P. So you just have to read as, if a triangle is not equilateral, then it is not isosceles. So similarly for the inverse, that is negation of P implies negation of Q. So you just have to tell as if a triangle is isosceles, then it is equilateral. Because not isosceles I have taken as P. So its negation will be it is isosceles. Okay. So similarly for contrapositive, what you will tell, if a triangle is equilateral, then it is isosceles. Understood, right? So I think now you got some idea. So similarly for the second sentence, if a quadrilateral is parallelogram, then the diagonals bisect each other. So quadrilateral being the parallelogram, I have to take it as P, and the diagonals bisecting each other, I will take it as Q. So once we take this as P and this as Q, its converse will be like, if diagonals of the quadrilateral bisect each other, then it is a parallelogram. Then its inverse will be, if a quadrilateral is not a parallelogram, then diagonals do bisect each other. I think now you got idea, right? Okay. So in the next class, I'll teach you how to check whether a given compound proportion is tautology, contradiction, or contingency. So similarly, we will see some of the problems on logical equivalence. Okay. So today's concepts you have understood, right? Any doubts in this topics? Okay. So thank you, students. So now you can log out. Thank you very much. Yeah, regarding the textbook, actually, I told you, right? The prescribed textbook is Grimaldi. Okay. But for your exam point of view, for VTU syllabus, if you go with either DSC or KSC, that is sufficient. Okay. Regarding the notes, actually what I have done is actually for these problems and all, if you refer the textbook, that will be sufficient. But only for module number 3 and module number 2, since you have more theorems in that topic, I have written the notes. Okay, because the theorems, if you read directly from the textbook, you cannot understand correctly. So for that purpose, I have written the notes. Okay, for module number 3 and module number 2, I have written the notes. If you study from the notes, that will be sufficient. But for the remaining modules, especially this module 1, whatever we are studying, I think textbook will be better, because you need to solve more exercise problems. And once if you understand the concepts correctly, I think any problem easily you can solve. Okay, so I suggest you can go with either Dr. DSC or Dr. KSC, both are fine. Only for module number 2 and module number 3, you just refer my notes. Okay. Okay, students. Thank you. Now you can log out. Thank you.